The morning sky over New York turned from blue to black as massive ships blocked out the sun. People stopped in the streets, cars screeched to a halt, and millions of faces turned upward to witness humanity's first contact with alien life. The ships of the Galactic Empire had arrived, and Earth would never be the same. In the United Nations Emergency Chamber, Ambassador Robert Thomas wiped sweat from his forehead. As Earth's chosen representative, he had practiced first contact scenarios for years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders whispered among themselves, their usual political differences forgotten in the face of this historic event. "They're requesting to land," announced General Wright, his voice steady despite the tension. "Their main ship is 3 times the size of our largest aircraft carrier." Ambassador Thomas straightened his tie. "Grant them permission. Let's show them humanity can be diplomatic." The landing zone had been prepared in Central Park, cleared of civilians and surrounded by a mix of military personnel and diplomatic security. As the smallest of the alien ships descended, its silent engines putting human technology to shame, Thomas couldn't help but feel a ping of inadequacy. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss, revealing High Commander Reed of the Galactic Empire. He looked almost human, except for his silvery skin and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. Behind him stood his delegation, each wearing uniforms that seemed to shimmer with technology beyond Earth's understanding. "Welcome to Earth," Thomas said, stepping forward with an extended hand. "We are honored to." Yes, Reed interrupted, ignoring the offered handshake. His universal translator turned his words into perfect English. "Another developing world. We've seen thousands." He pulled out a device smaller than a phone, which projected a holographic display of Earth's entire solar system. Primitive fusion technology barely achieved lunar colonization, and he zoomed in on Earth's satellites. "How quaint, you're still using radio waves for communication." Thomas felt his face grow hot, but maintained his diplomatic smile. "We're a young species, eager to learn and grow." "Young is an understatement," Reed said, walking past him to examine a nearby military vehicle. "Your combustion engines still used fossil fuels. The Empire had moved past this technology before your species learned to make fire." In the days that followed, the Empire's representatives made themselves at home in New York, setting up their embassy with technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. They'd brought gifts, medical cures for several diseases, improved solar power cells, and more efficient farming methods. But each gift came with a reminder of humanity's primitive status. During the first official diplomatic dinner, Reed's behavior typified the Empire's attitude. He used his personal matter synthesizer to create his meal, refusing to be primitive processed food. When Thomas tried to discuss possible technology exchanges, Reed laughed. "Your species is like a child asking to drive a starship," Reed said, addressing the gathered world leaders. "The Empire has a duty to protect developing worlds from technology they're not ready to handle. We've seen too many young species destroy themselves with advanced technology. For now, we'll establish basic trade relations and cultural exchange programs." Thomas noticed how Reed's eyes lingered on Earth's military representatives, clearly unimpressed by their weapons and uniforms. "Perhaps in a few centuries, you'll be ready for real technological advancement," Reed added with a smugness that made Thomas's jaw clench. As the dinner ended, Thomas stood at a window overlooking the city. The Empire's ships still hung in the sky, a constant reminder of humanity's new place in the galaxy. At the bottom. But as he watched New Yorkers adapting to their new reality, already setting up street vendors, selling alien-inspired food and merchandise, he smiled. The Empire clearly thought they had humanity figured out, but Thomas knew better. They had no idea what humans were capable of when underestimated. "Let them think we're primitive," he muttered to himself. "It might be the biggest mistake they've ever made." 5 years after first contact, the Empire's presence had become a constant source of frustration for humanity. Their trading post in Dubai, gleamed with impossible architecture, its floating platforms and energy shields making the world's tallest buildings look like children's toys. But for humans, entering this marvel meant enduring endless reminders of their primitive status. John Cooper, Earth's top nuclear physicist, stood in line at the trading post's entrance, trying to keep his temper in check. The Empire's scanner hummed as it checked him for restricted technology. Next to him, an alien merchant breezed through with a smile and a wave. Another disrupted reading, the Empire guard said, looking at Cooper with disdain. Your primitive communication devices interfere with our systems. Please remove your phone. Cooper bit his tongue. His phone, one of the latest quantum-enhanced models, was considered a toy by Empire standards. He placed it in a storage locker and walked through again. Inside the trading post, High Commander Reed was giving another one of his famous technology demonstrations. A crowd had gathered to watch him showcase the Empire's latest consumer products. Cooper joined them, knowing that watching would hurt his pride but needing to learn whatever he could. Observe, Reed said, holding up what looked like a simple marble. This basic household cleaner contains more computing power than your most advanced supercomputers. He dropped it into a glass of dirty water, and instantly the water became crystal clear. It analyzes matter at the molecular level, something your science is still centuries from achieving. The crowd gasped in amazement, but Cooper noticed something interesting. The simple cleaner had produced a quantum fluctuation his instruments could detect. The Empire might mock Earth's technology, but they had missed something fundamental about quantum physics. Later that day, at the United Council's hidden facility beneath Geneva, Cooper shared his findings with Ambassador Thomas. The underground room was one of the few places they could speak freely, away from the Empire's monitoring systems. They're so focused on showing off, Cooper said, pointing to his readings. They don't realize we can study their technology in ways they never considered. Thomas nodded, but his expression remained grim. That may be true, but we're still treated like children playing with sticks. Yesterday, they denied our request to participate in their Galactic education program. Said our brains might not be evolved enough to handle their basic mathematics. The humiliation continued at every level. When Earth launched its most advanced spaceship, capable of reaching Mars in just 30 days, the Empire's news networks ran stories about quaint primitive propulsion systems. When human scientists developed new clean energy systems, Empire officials patted them on the head and said they were finally beginning to understand basic physics. The final straw came during the Galactic Trade Summit. Earth's representatives had prepared for months, hoping to negotiate better trade terms. But as they presented their case, High Commander Reed interrupted. Perhaps we're being too generous, he said, his voice carrying through the Grand Hall. Your species still fights wars over primitive resources. You pollute your own planet. Your economic systems are based on artificial scarcity. He gestured to the human delegation. You're not ready for true galactic trade. Come back in a few hundred years. The human delegates left the summit with red faces and clenched fists. In the privacy of their shuttle, Thomas turned to Cooper. Tell me about that quantum fluctuation again, he said quietly. The one they don't seem to notice. Cooper smiled for the first time that day. I've been running some tests in secret. The Empire's technology is incredible, but they're like a master painter who never learned to sculpt. They've missed an entire dimension of scientific possibility. How long until we can prove it? Thomas asked. Give me 3 years, Cooper replied. They think we're going to spend centuries catching up to them, but they don't understand human determination. While they're busy mocking us, we'll be discovering something they never imagined possible. As their shuttle descended toward Earth, the Empire's ships glittered in orbit like stars, supreme and untouchable. But for the first time, Earth's scientists weren't looking up at them with envy. They were looking forward to the day when the Empire's mockery would turn to disbelief. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a research facility hidden from the Empire's watchful eyes, Dr. James Miller stared at his computer screen in disbelief. It was 3 a.m., and he had just discovered something that would change everything. Run the test again, he told his computer. The quantum scanner hummed to life, analyzing the piece of Empire technology they had secretly acquired, a simple food preservation unit. As the results came in, Miller's hands began to shake. Doctor, his assistant, Kate Wilson, walked in with 2 cups of coffee. She noticed his expression and rushed over. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Miller said, laughing softly. Everything's right. Look at this. He pointed to the screen showing complex quantum patterns. The Empire's technology is incredible, but they're completely blind to quantum probability fields. They're like a person with no depth perception, seeing everything, but missing an entire dimension. Kate set down the coffee cups and leaned in closer. What do you mean? Miller grabbed a pencil and paper, drawing quickly. The Empire builds everything using brute force, massive energy fields, complex atomic manipulation. But look here, he circled a pattern on the screen. Their technology creates quantum ripples they don't even notice. It's like they're speaking a language without knowing it. He stood up and walked to the lab's main testing chamber. Inside was their prototype, a device that looked simple compared to the Empire's technology. We've been trying to copy their methods for years, but we've accidentally stumbled onto something better. Miller pressed a button, and the device hummed to life. A small metal ball floated above it, surrounded by a faint blue glow. Their ships use enormous engines to achieve faster-than-light travel, but with quantum probability manipulation, we could do it with a fraction of the energy. Are you saying we've discovered something the Empire doesn't know about? Kate asked, her eyes wide. Not just discovered it, Miller replied. We can use it. Their technology is like building a skyscraper to reach the clouds. Ours will be like finding out we can fly. The next morning, Miller presented his findings to the United Council in their underground chamber. Ambassador Thomas and John Cooper were there, along with Earth's top military and scientific leaders. The Empire's ships tear holes in space, Miller explained, showing holographic diagrams. It works, but it's wasteful and dangerous. Our method gently shifts quantum probabilities, making it millions of times more efficient. Can you prove it works? General Wright asked, leaning forward. Miller smiled and took out a small device, similar to the one in his lab. This prototype can power an entire city block using less energy than a car battery. It taps into quantum probability fields that the Empire doesn't even know exist. He demonstrated by powering down the entire facility's normal systems, then bringing everything back online using just his small device. The room fell silent. The Empire thinks we're centuries behind them, Thomas said finally. How long until we can implement this on a larger scale? We need 6 months to perfect it, Miller replied. But here's the beautiful part. The Empire's own arrogance will protect us. They're so convinced of their superiority, they don't even scan for quantum probability fluctuations. We can develop this right under their noses. As the meeting ended, Cooper pulled Miller aside. We need to be careful, he warned. If the Empire discovers this too soon. They won't, Miller assured him. They don't think we're capable of anything innovative. Their own arrogance is our best shield. That night, as Miller worked late in his lab, he watched an Empire ship pass overhead through the facility's hidden sensors. Its massive engines blazed with enough power to light up a continent, all to achieve what his small prototype could do with barely any energy at all. Keep laughing at us, he muttered, making final adjustments to his device. You have no idea what's coming. In the depths of the mountain, humanity's greatest discovery continued to take shape, while above them, the Empire remained blissfully unaware that their technological superiority was about to be challenged by the very species they mocked. 3 years passed like a whispered secret. In hidden facilities across Earth, humanity's greatest minds worked tirelessly on Project Prometheus. The Empire's ships still patrolled overhead, their crews never suspecting that their supposed inferiors were about to change the galaxy forever. In the underground facility, Dr. Miller watched as workers assembled the first full-size probability drive. Unlike the Empire's massive engines, it looked surprisingly simple, a silver sphere about the size of a beach ball, glowing with a soft blue light. Hard to believe something so small could power a starship, Kate said, checking the quantum readings on her tablet. She had dark circles under her eyes from countless late nights, but her face showed pride. "That's why it works," Miller replied. "The Empire thinks bigger is better. They never considered that the universe's greatest powers might work on the smallest scales." Ambassador Thomas entered the facility, accompanied by General Wright. Both men had aged visibly under the stress of keeping the project hidden from the Empire's advanced scanning technology. "The Empire's getting suspicious," Thomas announced. "They've noticed our reduced requests for their technology. High Commander Reed is planning an inspection tour of our major research facilities next month." "Let them come," Miller said confidently. "They'll find exactly what they expect. Primitive labs trying to copy their technology. Our real work is too well hidden." In another chamber, John Cooper supervised the construction of humanity's first probability dry ship. Unlike the Empire's massive vessels, this ship was elegant and small. Its smooth silver hull contained no visible engines or power systems. "How are the test flights going?" Thomas asked, examining the ship's sleek design. "Perfect," Cooper replied. "We've been testing it in small jumps between Earth and Mars. The Empire's sensors register it as random quantum fluctuations, something they consider background noise." A young technician rushed in, holding a report. "Sir, we've just completed the efficiency calculations. Our drive uses less than 0.1% of the energy required by Empire ships. We could cross the galaxy with the power it takes them to reach the next star." Thomas smiled, his first real smile in years. "And the other applications?" Miller led them to a sealed room filled with prototypes. "We've adapted the probability field technology for everything. Medical devices that cure diseases by adjusting quantum probabilities. Power generators that could end energy shortages forever. Defense systems that make our cities practically invulnerable." "And the Empire suspects nothing?" General Wright asked. "They're too busy laughing at our primitive space program," Cooper said. "Last week, Reed gave another speech about how we're finally approaching their Bronze Age level of technology." The room filled with quiet laughter. The laughter of people who knew something no one else in the galaxy had figured out. That evening, as the facility hummed with activity, Kate found Miller staring at the main viewing screen. It showed an Empire trading post, its massive structures glowing against the sunset. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. Miller shook his head. "Just thinking about history. The Empire's been the most advanced civilization for 1,000,000 years. They stopped looking for new ideas long ago. But humanity," he gestured to their work, "we never stopped questioning, never stopped looking for better ways." "When do we reveal it?" Kate asked. "Soon," Miller replied. "We're installing probability field generators in every major city, upgrading our defense systems, preparing our new ships. When the Empire finally learns the truth, they'll find we're not the primitive species they can push around anymore." In orbit, an Empire ship passed overhead, its huge engines blazing like a small sun. Inside their hidden facility, humanity's scientists watched it pass, knowing that soon the galaxy would learn an important lesson. True power doesn't come from size or age, but from the ability to see what others have missed. The silent revolution continued, tick by tick, discovery by discovery, while the Empire remained blind to the greatest technological leap in galactic history happening right beneath their feet. The emergency alarm blared through the underground facility at 3 a.m. Earth time. Dr. Miller rushed into the control room, where screens showed chaos unfolding in the Empire's territory. A massive quantum storm had appeared near New Haven, one of the Empire's largest colony worlds with 5 billion inhabitants. "What are we looking at?" Miller asked, as Kate pulled up more data. "The Empire's long-range sensors detected it an hour ago," she replied. It's like nothing they've ever seen. A storm of pure quantum energy, tearing space apart around the colony. Ambassador Thomas burst into the room, followed by Cooper and General Wright. The Empire's called an emergency meeting of all known species, Thomas announced. They're broadcasting their attempts to stop the storm. On the main screen, they watched as massive Empire ships fired their most powerful weapons into the quantum storm. The energy beams disappeared into the chaos without effect. The storm grew larger, its swirling purple-black mass now larger than Earth's moon. Their weapons are making it worse, Miller said, studying the readings. They're trying to fight quantum fluctuations with brute force. It's like trying to stop a tsunami by shooting at it. New Haven's defensive shields are failing, Kate reported. The Empire's evacuating the planet, but they estimate they can only save 20% of the population before the storm hits. The room fell silent. 4 billion people would die if nothing was done. Thomas looked at Miller. Could our technology help? Miller was already running calculations. The storm is pure quantum probability gone wild. Our drive technology, yes, we could stabilize it, but we'd have to reveal everything. If we do nothing, billions die, Cooper said quietly. General Wright stepped forward. The Prometheus is ready. We've been hiding long enough. Minutes later, alarms blared through the facility as the Prometheus prepared for launch. The small silver ship looked tiny compared to the Empire's massive vessels, but it carried humanity's greatest achievement. Remember, Miller told the crew, the Empire will detect us as soon as we activate the drive. We'll only have one chance to prove ourselves. Thomas grabbed Miller's arm before he boarded. Good luck. Try not to gloat too much when you save them. The Prometheus lifted off silently, its probability drive bending space without the Empire's usual light show. As they left Earth's atmosphere, they detected High Commander Reed's flagship approaching at maximum speed. Unidentified vessel. Reed's voice crackled over the radio. Return to your planet immediately. This crisis is beyond your primitive technology's ability to help. Miller took a deep breath and pressed the ship's broadcast button. High Commander, we're about to show you what primitive technology can do. The Prometheus accelerated, its probability drive activating fully for the first time in open space. They crossed the distance to New Haven in seconds, a journey that took Empire ships hours even at full speed. Impossible, Reed's voice shouted. No ship that small could have faster than light capability. The Prometheus arrived at New Haven, facing the massive quantum storm. Up close, it was like a hole torn in reality itself, threatening to devour the planet below. Activating probability field, Kate announced. The ship's drive pulsed, extending its quantum stabilizing effect outward. Where it touched the storm, the chaos began to calm. It's working, Miller said, watching the readings. The storm's quantum state is stabilizing. We're resetting probability to normal levels. On the colony below, billions watched in awe as the tiny Earth ship, smaller than their passenger vessels, tamed a force that had defeated the Empire's greatest weapons. The storm shrank, its wild energy becoming gentle waves that the Prometheus's drive dispersed harmlessly into space. When it was over, the ship hung silently above New Haven. Miller looked at the readings from approaching Empire ships and smiled. I believe, he said calmly into the radio, High Commander Reed might want to reconsider his opinion of primitive technology. The Prometheus had done more than save a planet. It had shown the galaxy that humanity's path to the stars would be very different from what anyone expected. The grand meeting hall of the Empire's flagship fell silent as Dr. Miller finished his presentation. High Commander Reed sat motionless in his ornate chair, his silvery face showing an emotion no one had ever seen before on an Empire official. Shock. You're telling us, Reed said slowly, that your species discovered an entirely new branch of science. One that we missed for 1,000,000 years. We didn't discover it, Miller replied calmly. We just looked where you refused to look. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered there might be other ways to understand the universe. The holographic display in the center of the hall showed the Prometheus's probability drive in action. Unlike the Empire's technology, it worked with the fabric of space-time, instead of forcing its way through it. Kate stepped forward, pointing to the data streams. Your own sensors recorded these quantum fluctuations for centuries. You just dismissed them as background noise because they didn't fit your understanding of physics. Around the room, representatives from other alien species whispered among themselves. Many were taking notes, their eyes bright with the possibilities this new science offered. But this is impossible, one of the Empire's chief scientists protested. We tested every possible avenue of technological development. Our computers simulated millions of paths. That's exactly the problem, Cooper said from his seat beside Ambassador Thomas. You relied on computers programmed with your existing knowledge. You never considered what you might not know. Reed stood up, his usual arrogance replaced by a mix of humiliation and desperation. The Empire is willing to negotiate for access to this technology. Name your price. Thomas smiled. 6 years ago, you told us to come back when we were ready for true galactic trade. Well, we're ready now. But this time, we'll set the terms. Miller activated another hologram, showing the countless applications of probability field technology. Our ships can cross the galaxy using less energy than yours used to reach orbit. Our medical technology can cure diseases by adjusting quantum probabilities. Our power generation could end energy scarcity across the Empire. And you achieved all this, Reed said quietly, while we were mocking your primitive technology. You gave us the greatest gift possible, Miller replied. You underestimated us so completely that we could work without interference. Your arrogance was our best shield. The meeting continued for hours as humanities scientists explained their discoveries to an increasingly amazed audience. The Empire's representatives tried to maintain their dignity, but everyone could see the balance of power had shifted dramatically. Later, in a private chamber, Reed approached Thomas with an official document. The Empire formally requests Earth's assistance in implementing probability field technology throughout our territory, he said, each word seemingly painful to speak. Of course, Thomas replied graciously. We'll be happy to teach you. After all, that's what advanced civilizations do for developing species, isn't it? Reed flinched at hearing his own words thrown back at him, but nodded stiffly. As they left the flagship, Miller watched Earth's first probability field-equipped fleet emerging from hyperspace. The ships were elegant and small, their silver hulls gleaming against the stars. Beside them, the Empire's massive vessels looked like relics of a passing age. What happens now? Kate asked, watching the ships dock. Now we show the galaxy what humanity can really do, Miller replied. Not through conquest or dominance, but by sharing knowledge and working together. The Empire's arrogance had cost them their position as the galaxy's most advanced civilization. But as Miller watched Empire scientists eagerly studying humanity's discoveries, he realized something important. Sometimes the greatest power isn't in keeping knowledge to yourself, but in sharing it with others. The age of the Empire's technological supremacy was over. The age of human innovation had begun. 5 years after the quantum storm incident, Earth had become the center of technological innovation in the galaxy. The once quiet solar system now buzzed with ships from hundreds of alien civilizations, all coming to learn from humanity's unique approach to science. Dr. Miller stood at the window of the new Galactic Science Academy in Geneva, watching students from across the galaxy hurry between classes. The building itself was a testament to humanity's new technology. It existed in a careful balance of quantum states, its silvery walls seeming to float between possibilities. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Kate asked, joining him at the window. She now headed the Academy's quantum research department, teaching beings from across the galaxy. The Empire's ships looked different now, Miller noted, pointing to a newly redesigned Imperial vessel landing at the spaceport. Gone were the massive engines and brute force approach. The new ships incorporated human probability drive technology, sleek and efficient. Ambassador Thomas entered the room, followed by a humbled High Commander Reed. 5 years had changed Reed, his former arrogance replaced by a quiet respect. The last of the Empire's old-style ships have been upgraded, Reed reported. Your probability field technology has transformed our civilization. Energy shortages are a thing of the past. Travel between worlds takes minutes instead of weeks. And how are your people adapting to the changes? Thomas asked kindly. It was difficult at first, Reed admitted. A million years of believing we knew everything, only to learn we had missed something so fundamental. But we're learning. Your teaching methods are as revolutionary as your technology. Through another window, they could see John Cooper leading a group of Empire engineers through the basics of quantum probability mechanics. The engineers watched in amazement as he demonstrated how a tiny probability field generator could power an entire city. The other species have adapted more quickly, Kate noted. Without the Empire's long history of technological arrogance, they're more open to new ideas. She was right. While the Empire struggled with its changed status, other civilizations had embraced humanity's approach to science. New discoveries were being made daily as different species combined their knowledge with probability field technology. We're detecting quantum storms forming in other galaxies, Miller said, checking his data tablet. The combined fleet leaves tomorrow. Empire ships and Earth ships working together to save lives. Reed nodded. Who would have thought, 5 years ago, that we would be learning emergency response techniques from Earth? Thomas smiled diplomatically. The best technology doesn't come from age or power. It comes from being willing to look at problems in new ways. Outside, the sun was setting over the academy grounds. Students from 1,000 worlds walked together, sharing ideas and discoveries. The Empire's trading post, once a symbol of humanity's inferior status, had been transformed into an interactive museum showing the evolution of galactic technology. The galaxy's changing, Miller said. Not just technologically, but culturally. Species that never worked together are now sharing knowledge, combining different approaches to science. And it all started because the Empire thought we were too primitive to take seriously, Kate added with a small smile. Reed shifted uncomfortably, but nodded. A lesson we won't forget. The Empire's greatest mistake was believing that age automatically meant wisdom. As night fell, the probability field generators around Earth created a gentle aurora in the sky, a side effect of their operation that humans had turned into an art form. Ships from across the galaxy moved silently between stars, their quantum drives leaving no trace in space. In his private moments, Miller sometimes thought about that first meeting with the Empire, when they had dismissed humanity as primitive cave-dwellers. Now those same beings came to Earth to learn, to study, and to understand the universe in ways they had never imagined. The age of Empire superiority was over, but something better had taken its place, a galaxy where knowledge flowed freely between worlds, where different approaches to science were celebrated, not mocked. Humanity had not only proven itself, but had helped create a new era of discovery and cooperation. The primitive species had become the teachers, and the galaxy was better for it.